Hey guys, take a look at the beautiful country of Moldova. What an amazing country. Now close your eyes, wait a second, and oh no, $1 billion just got stolen from Moldova's banks. You might be thinking, $1 billion? That's a small sum in the budget of a country. That's true, maybe for Canada or the US or even France, but for the poorest country in Europe, they were left in shambles after. I'm not exaggerating. Take this. This theft threw Europe's poorest country in a deep crisis in 2015. The growth rate of GDP became negative and poverty and inflation skyrocketed. It's still not totally clear what happened, but what is known is that this theft made up almost 1/5 of Moldova's GDP. This came as a crazy shock to Moldova and its people. Until today, it still has a significant effect on the economy and how every Moldovan lives. This isn't just their only swing of bad luck, because when it comes to its location, they are in proximity to the conflict in Ukraine. Not just that, it's considered a weak country due to its small size, landlocked location, and terrible dependence on energy. Harsh consequences of such events and features serve as a friendly reminder of the long-term damaging impacts of corruption. Even if its economy has performed well over the last 20 years, Moldova is still the poorest nation in Europe. Just comparing GDP per capita, they are almost 13 times poorer than the US. Poverty and slow growth are like a yoke around Moldova's neck. The list of challenges is so long. The epidemic, the energy crisis, and the influx of refugees brought on by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, all these made Moldova's economy painfully vulnerable to shocks. You know what is more terrible? It's not just impacted by the conflict in Ukraine, but it's among the nations mostly impacted. The effects of the conflict and price increases increased fiscal expenditures, making resources for long-term development initiatives scarcer. Even now, the refugee crisis has also created a difficult socio-economic climate, particularly if many people stay but are unable to find work. So, think carefully before moving there. You might end up unemployed. Now you should be wondering what turned this country into such a disaster. To answer this question, let's roll over time. But before we do so, if you liked the video so far, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Since its independence in 1991, Moldova has come a long way toward becoming a stronger democracy. To support this tradition, it started health and social safety net programs, promoted democratic processes, and assisted in restructuring and privatizing important businesses to boost economic growth. That's why in 1992, the assistance program was first implemented there. Since then, many things have improved, including people's lives, democratic processes, and the economy in general. So far, so good. For the last 10 years, Moldova's development has advanced really well. The percentage of people living in poverty went from 23% in 2010 to 9% in 2018. And in 2014, the Deep and Comprehensive Free Trade Agreement, DCFTA, and the Association Agreement were signed. Why am I mentioning this? Well, that's exactly when Moldova was able to begin the process of integrating its economy with the EU. It became much more robust with improved trade and reorientation of exports to Western markets. Not done yet. It has also implemented a thorough legislative and regulatory foundation for the country's transition to a market economy, along with significant changes to its legal system. So, I mentioned terms like trade agreements, democratic processes, regulatory legislations. Economic success must be the first thing that comes to mind. But no, it's still the poorest country in Europe. Wow, didn't see that coming. Let's tackle three main factors behind why. Number 1, unstable population. The people of a country are the cornerstone of its economy. We all know that. But Moldova's very unpredictable economy is a result of its unstable population. And here, we should hit the panic button. From the Black to the Adriatic Sea, the issue of declining population is like a Korean drama. You never know what twist is coming around in the next 5 minutes. But in Moldova, it's just trauma. Their population decreased by over a third since 1989, and in 15 years, it might be only half of what it was. These are the worst demographic stats across all of Europe. This has put stress on their pension system and restricts the workforce available and the country's long-term competitiveness. So poverty there is likely to be a problem for some time to come, so don't expect relief soon. Another factor contributing to the unstable population is declining fertility rates. For most nations, the total fertility rate is around 2.1. Moldova's rate is around 1.8. The population there is decreasing as fewer women are having children, meaning that the proportion of older people is rising and there won't be enough young people around to take care of them in the future. Future. That's an optimistic word that takes us to another bitter truth. Number 2, natural disasters. Earthquakes and flooding are more likely to occur in many parts of Moldova. Given that more than half of their population lives in rural areas and that industry and agriculture account for more than 40% of the GDP, this has a big effect on the economy. Natural catastrophes represent a terrible risk for a large number of people. People who live in regions where natural disaster risk is higher also experience worse economies as a result. The province with the highest GDP, Chisinau, is most vulnerable to earthquakes and floods. The World Bank estimates that natural disasters can cause losses of up to 3% of the GDP in the area, or $66 million. That's huge. These issues have power to affect residents' lives and push Moldova's vulnerable citizens into poverty. Honestly, it's not getting any better for them. So, natural disasters cause poverty, and poverty makes people more vulnerable and less able to afford health services. This takes us to factor number 3. Number 3, sanitation and healthcare. With the pandemic, there is currently a global economic crisis that is expected to have a big influence on Moldova going forward. Health spending declined in recent years, going from around 8% in 2013 to almost 6%, meaning less and less are able to afford proper treatment. Only poverty worse in Moldova. So many challenges and problems. Isn't there anything that can be done? Well, now that you mention it, here are some solutions. Since Moldova is a small, landlocked country, they need to put more strength in reaching out to international markets. How can they do this? Well, here is a simple answer: trade and exports. The goal is to prioritize increasing exports of commodities and services. To increase exports, they need to innovate and become more efficient in what it already produces, and join regional and global supply chains. But that doesn't seem to be enough. So what should they do? Get more local and foreign investment. Clearly, they've been in a bit of a rut, so it's not going to be easy. But there are always areas for improvement. Area number 1, backbone services and investment climate. They directly affect any company's productivity. But before we move on, backbone services is rather broad. It simply involves services that businesses need to operate, which are financial, electrical, infrastructure, and connection services. If these services don't exist, then this means no business can be done. And these issues are stopping Moldova's ability to compete at any level. Believe it or not, but Moldova is among the worst countries in Europe for business. It ranks 41 among 46 countries. Talk about a participation trophy. That's why it's really important to create a suitable business environment and make essential backbone services available to attract investment. Otherwise, imagine a firm that has poor access to electricity, financing, bad internet connection, and unprepared roads. That would be the complete opposite of a business paradise. That's a business hell. Of course, creating a favorable business environment can't really be done in corrupt conditions, which takes us to area number 2. Area 2, institutional quality and governance. Ineffective institutional quality and corruption linked to terrible productivity losses. According to surveys, Moldovan firms admitted that the most restrictive element of the economic environment is corruption, followed by lax tax administration and ineffective laws. In fact, Moldova ranks 120 among 180 countries on the Corruption Perception Index. It would be nice to see them on the higher rated side one day. There's also evidence that productivity of businesses relying on unofficial payments and gifts was around 7% lower than that of their law-abiding competitors. So, effective laws and better institutional quality are highly needed there. You can't deny this. Now let's assume that Moldova succeeds in achieving economic growth. Would this growth really be better for the country? Does it really benefit the whole population? For their economic growth to result in prosperous and sustainable development, there needs to be improvements in many things. Let me first share with you a super important yet disappointing fact. In 2018, Moldova's employment rate was only 42%, compared to the EU average of over 70%. Big portions of their population migrate because of bad work prospects and the pressing need for reform. To satisfy the long-term demand of returning migrants and unemployed and underemployed Moldovans, they're gonna need to make loads of jobs with better benefits. A coffee machine would be nice. In addition, there is an uneven distribution of jobs between men and women across urban and rural areas. Ethnic minorities and people with disabilities face incredible poverty risks and difficulties entering the job market. Now, you must be asking whether the government has done anything to solve this issue. Actually, yes. The government there has started implementing changes to draw in more foreign investment to create jobs and raise standards of living. Let me assure you that FDI has recently increased. The government's decision is finally bearing fruit. But we can't deny the fact that distributing the good economic news to every area of Moldova and every segment of society, even the most marginalized, is just as crucial as enhancing the overall business and investment climate and the framework supporting individual investors. Since their independence in 1991, Moldova experienced an economic catastrophe. With a weak economy to begin with, and the extra weight of several global recessions, poverty there has stayed high for decades. The year to come will see the same problems facing the nation. So, radical changes must be made for them to survive. Otherwise, we'll be talking about an unmitigated disaster. Thanks for watching till the end. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons to receive more content. See you in the next video.